All right, friends, what is up? Welcome to the 4th episode of I Said What I Said. I forget what episode I'm on almost every time I come on here now. There are a bunch of things that I want to talk about today, and I wanted to start off with something that I have been kind of dancing around talking about for a while now. I talk about it on the podcast. I definitely talk about it on Twitter a lot. But I really think this is something that the wrestling community needs to grasp an understanding of. I think there are a lot of things about being a wrestling fan that can come with, I don't want to say embarrassment, but like there's a lot of heat between wrestling fans. There's a lot of passion, which is amazing, but I think there's a lot of arguing, there's a lot of toxicity, that none of that is new information. But I think it kind of makes people want to shy away certain times from being just really strong in their opinions because they don't want to fight, they don't want to get hate, any of the things. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, I kind of wanted to open with this, is just like, own your fucking opinions. And I have a few examples of this, but like, just own your fucking opinions. I truly think the only thing that any level-headed wrestling fan would want, like, out of each other, the only thing that I've ever asked for is like, just like own your shit. So for example, a lot of times I shit on Logan Paul for like who he is as a person very, very often, right? And I have gotten people be like, how are you still a Jeff Hardy fan? Jeff has had a lot of issues in the past. We're on 3 DUIs at this point. And I keep it very simple. Jeff Hardy has done a lot for me as a person, especially in my childhood. He means a lot to me. He's an idol of mine in so many ways. And I just put it as, that's me. I'm a really big Jeff fan. But I understand the things that he's done, the wrongs that he's done, where he's fucked up. And if somebody chooses not to like him due to those things, that's completely fine. I do not care. The only thing that I ask is, don't attack me just because you don't like him. That's my big thing. And on the flip side of that, I hate CM Punk for a lot of fucking reasons, right? I have 2 of my really close friends, Erica and Lana, fucking love CM Punk. They adore CM Punk. Do I care? No. The only thing that I ever ask, because a lot of times people want to join our community and they're like, oh, I'm a CM Punk fan. I'm like, I don't care who you like. Unless it's Hulk Hogan, that might be a problem. But I don't care who you like. You are always welcome in this community. The only thing that I ask is like, there's a lot of fucked up shit that CM Punk has done. Just own it. You can say, I don't care. He means a lot to me. Whatever reason, I love him anyway. That's totally fine. The only thing that frustrates me is when people are like, oh no, he's perfect. He does no wrong. Now we're sounding a little delulu. I think there's a fine line between those two things, but like, I'm totally okay if you want to be like, I don't care what he did. I love CM Punk anyway, or I love Logan Paul anyway. That's fine. But when somebody says, I don't like him for the things he's done wrong, don't attack or shit talk that person. If you're allowed to like him in spite of those things, we're allowed to dislike him because of those things. I think a big one that I've seen a lot of hate for in the last however many months has been Saraya. Saraya's got a lot of shit lately, especially for her boyfriend, which I get it. And I just, if you don't like Saraya because of who she's dating, that's totally fine. But just own that shit. Be like, I don't like her boyfriend. It's a bad taste in my mouth. I just can't fuck with her because of Ronnie Radke. That's fine. But don't, just own it. Just own it. Be like, yeah, that's how I feel. And that is what it is. And if people call you dramatic, let them call you fucking dramatic. Literally, who gives a fuck? Just own your shit and move on. Because I also think that people are going to respect you more if you own your shit. Own your opinions. Just be like, yeah, that is what it is. It's not embarrassing to dislike somebody for whatever purpose. That's never embarrassing. Starting off with a serious one, but own your fucking opinions. Just don't be mean to people if they don't agree with you. Literally just own your shit. Next thing I want to talk about kind of goes into, I was just talking about Jeff. Matt Hardy did a podcast not that long ago talking about how he felt the Hardys were undervalued. I'm only going to talk about this for a minute because I already tweeted about it and put my thoughts out there. But first and foremost, a lot of you motherfuckers talked about it and you didn't listen to the entire clip. You didn't listen to everything that he was talking about. He is talking about not just after Jeff's DUI, they weren't being used. He did not say that he doesn't blame Jeff's issues. He actually explicitly does say that. And he reiterates that in his tweet. He understands that there are moves that Jeff made, obviously the DUI and everything else, that were not okay, and that obviously set them back. He is talking about their time as a whole, because respectfully, y'all can tell me whatever you want. You cannot tell me that they were getting some big ass fucking push. You can't. You can't tell me that. Okay? I started watching AEW the day that Jeff Hardy debuted in March of 2022. And my guy, I love him. I love them both, but they were not getting some massive fucking push. There were rumors of them potentially at some point getting the tag titles, and they did a few matches to kind of be on that path, but that's it. There was no like big feud, there was no big storyline, there was no like big longer lasting thing that was going on with the Hardy brothers. And on top of that, it's not just being undervalued with AEW, it's undervalued in the wrestling community. Because fucking constantly, anytime I talk about Jeff and or Matt, I am getting comments. They're washed, they're too old, they can't do it anymore. Jeff's so broken, I'm so worried about his health. Shut the fuck up, first of all. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves is people being like, Jeff can't do it anymore. Are you Jeff? Are you Jeff? You don't like, we don't get to say when somebody is done. You don't physically know how he feels. If he was so fucking broken that he really couldn't walk well or like do any moves, he would be out already. Sure, he would take himself out, or Matt would, or somebody would. I'm sure that they would exit. Okay, if that's really how bad it was. So fucking dramatic. I can't handle it. So all in all, just actually listen to the things that Matt has to say, and maybe check out his tweets as well, where he reiterates those feelings before you start fucking talking about it. And do not come to me with some bullshit trying to say that there was some big ass push they were on. There were rumors and thoughts of them getting the tag titles at one point. Yes, Jeff derailed that. That's it. That is the most that we have there. And there were a couple random Jeff singles matches that I don't know what they even had to do with anything. That's it. So I don't want to hear it. And speaking of AEW, I'm going right in fucking transitions here. We gotta discuss the fact that AEW will not work with content creators, and I don't understand why. I have been very outspoken about some of the things that I've disagreed with on the front of WWE and Triple H and Nick Khan. I've not been quiet, but one thing that they're doing really, really well is they are upping their video package. They're upping their production. They're upping their work with streamers and like content creators and all this stuff. It would be cooler if they worked with like more TikTok creators too, because there are a few of them that like don't stream. So like maybe that's in the cards one day. But like TNA is starting to work with streamers. There's a whole batch of streamers that get to actually put TNA, the weekly show, on their fucking podcast now, like on the stream. And so like these companies are like, they're slowly starting to do it. And I don't know why AEW won't fucking do it. I know typically when I've gotten like my clips copyright struck or whatever from TikTok, it's by Fight TV, not AEW, typically pay-per-views. But I just don't understand why they're not valuing content creation and what it can do for them. I think everybody keeps saying like digital marketing and like digital businesses, like everything online is like going to take over in the next couple of years if it hasn't already. They need to fucking get on this, because there's also like, there's not a ton of creators that really are hardcore into AEW, but I mean, obviously Johnny and I know Minnie streams them a lot. I'm not sure if, I don't know who else consistently streams them off the top of my head. But like me, Johnny, and Minnie, those are two podcasts that could be streaming and working with Tony and AEW more often. Things like that. So I am hoping that comes in one day. I know that Santi spoke with Tony Khan about, there was like, I guess a TikToker who like lost his entire account because they got copyright struck for AEW clips or reactions or something. But he was like physically at the show, which is also fucking weird to me. And I guess Tony had said that like it wasn't AEW, it was like a third party that had copyright struck, and they were like fixing it and making sure he got his account back, which is great on Tony. But like, these are things that we need to be working on. AEW needs to be involved in social media, in content creation. And they have a ton of wrestlers who like do YouTube and do vlogs, do like streaming and like all this types of content. I don't understand why they're not jumping in more on that. So hopefully that is to come soon. I know me and Chrissy, if you guys know, she used to go by Luna Havoc. She goes by Chrissy now. She bought the new Tony Khan like tweet shirt about like it being for the sickos. She actually asked me to make it. And so I made that, and she got that. She just got it the other day. And so she wants to wear that. And then I'm going to wear the Tony Khan tweet that I've had for like a while, that t-shirt. And we're going to keep tagging Tony to like be our bestie and like notice the shirt because it's funny. But she's like, we gotta tag the fuck out of Tony. So hopefully Tony Khan sees us one day. He has like Johnny's tweets before, so he's lurking. He's on social media all the time. I just don't understand where the thought process is missing of like we should be more interactive with like content creation. But hopefully that is coming down the pipeline for them. On a total twist here, something else that I wanted to talk about was Chelsea Green had mentioned, now this is being recorded post Money in the Bank, so we know that Tiffany won the Money in the Bank, but Chelsea Green had mentioned bringing back the Divas title. I want to hear people's thoughts on this, because if I'm being fully transparent, I love Chelsea Green. I love everything that she is doing. I think she's so talented. She is so fucking amazing. I love everything about her. I don't think I want the Divas title back. Just hear me out. And maybe this is a little on the dramatic side, but this was like my first thought. Was women's wrestling worked so hard to get out of that era. And I know, to preface, I know that she is not trying to like go back to that era by any means. But they worked so hard to get out of that Divas era and like kind of get rid of that title and get just like normal WWE women's titles. I don't know if I'd want to bring it back. I think it works in that she is a diva character, so she would have the Divas title, and I think it would be kind of fun as like a gimmick, like a funny. I don't know if I'd want to bring it back as more of a consistent thing, if that makes sense. So I don't really know how they'd incorporate it, because she would obviously have to cash in, or like now she can't cash in, but she'd have to wrestle for like a regular women's world title. Very interesting. I kind of wanted to get people's thoughts on that, because I really, really, really don't think I want to bring that title back. But I also get her thought process, and I think she is so creative and she is so smart, and I think she has a really good mind for a mix of like the wrestling business as well as social media. I mean, when she had those tag titles, she went on social media and she was like doing applications for a new tag partner and like all that stuff. Like, she's so smart and like creative and insightful in the way that she does things, and I'm so excited for her to one day have a title run. I just don't think it should be with the Divas title. But again, I might be overthinking it, so I kind of want to get everybody's thoughts on that. So let me know what you're thinking about Chelsea potentially bringing back that Divas title. All right, and finally, I want to do a little segment, because I know you guys really liked the Wrestlers That Changed My Mind video. It has like 400 views already, which is like, that's great for me. So thank you for everybody who watched that. But now I want to do a segment on wrestlers that I think are really underrated, both WWE and AEW. And there's a few in each company that I'm thinking of right now. So first and foremost, Angelo Dawkins. Now, I would also say Montez Ford, but I think the fans understand how good he is and how well he could be used. I think WWE undervalues him. But first and foremost, I'm going to say Angelo Dawkins, because I think in a lot of ways Montez kind of outshines him to the fans, like from the fan point of view. But Dawkins is so talented. He is funny. He does have the charisma. He has the personality. He has the character work. He is athletic and strong. He's a really good mix of multiple different things in a wrestler. And I think that when Montez eventually, hopefully, goes on a singles run, I think Dawkins could do so as well. I know Montez it's kind of like Matt and Jeff Hardy, where like Montez kind of shines as like the fan favorite star, like Jeff does. And Dawkins then doesn't really get the credit that he deserves because of how much fans like Montez. But I am super hopeful that we get a Montez single run one day, and then like maybe it's a feud between the two of them. Montez turns on Dawkins, or whatever. Dawkins turns on Montez, and that allows them to kind of come out of their shell a little bit and kind of break free and like really just show off everything that they can do. I just think that would be really cool. Next is Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. Now, I never disliked them. I never knew much about them before Clash of the Castle. I didn't really watch NXT while they were there, and I didn't know much about them. I don't even know if I'd seen them wrestle. If I did, I wasn't paying attention. But they impressed me so much at Clash of the Castle. They had such a good match. They were keeping up with all of the other women, especially Bianca and Jade, who are a fucking powerhouse tag team. And I was just super impressed with them. I really liked their kind of like backstage interview and like segments that they've been doing. I think their character work and their acting is really, really, really good. But this was the first time that I really got to like fully watch them wrestle. And I was so happy that they gave them the titles. I was very much it was not expected. I really thought Bianca and Jade were going to retain, and I thought it was like respectfully an easy answer of the two of them retaining. But I really liked what I saw out of the two of them, and I would love to kind of see a lot more of them. I don't know how much we've seen them since Clash of the Castle. Not a ton. They've popped up a few times. But I'd love to see them kind of like show off these two, like Alba and Isla, in a similar way that they did Bianca and Jade. And I know that they showed those two off as tag champs because of who they are, but I would love for them to kind of keep that same or like similar energy with Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, because I think they really made some new fans that night. They did in me, definitely, and I'd love to see more of them. All right, now my next few are from AEW. First and foremost, Anthony Bowens. I think Bowens is super underrated because a lot of people hate Max Caster, and I am included in that. I am the fucking conductor on the Max Caster hater train, okay? I literally can't fucking stand anything about him. Online, offline, in character, out of it. Nothing about him do I like. But I'm a really big fan of Bowens. I think he's great. A lot of fans like him in the ring, and as like a really good wrestler, I think he is good on the mic. He gets fans really hyped up, and he's really good at that. But then I think offline, people like him a lot, especially on Twitter. He's really funny. He interacts with a lot of like fans and other wrestlers. He had like a back and forth with Mariah May a while back that was really funny. But I really like him. And I think the fans are super behind him. But I think it's hard to push him when he's still with Caster. And I don't know if they'd ever break them up. It would have to be like probably Caster turns heel and like turns on Bowens if they did do a breakup. But I think it would be a really good opportunity for even maybe both of them, honestly, because then everybody could just hate Caster, because they're trying to put Caster as like in the Acclaimed out as like baby faces, and just no one likes Caster, so it makes it really, really hard. But I think it would be a really good opportunity for them, for like Caster can be a heel while people are not liking him, and Bowens can really shine as a single star. So I'd love to see that one day, but I just think Anthony Bowens gets like the shitty end of the stick because nobody likes Caster. So I'd love to see him go on a singles run one day. Next is my little chipmunk, my little guy, Wheeler Yuta. When I first started, I think it was my first episode of AEW that I'd ever seen. It was first or second. It was like right at the beginning. Was Wheeler, I think he was wrestling Mox and he lost. Or maybe I don't remember. But that was when he officially joined Blackpool Combat Club. That was the first like episode I'd ever seen of AEW back like 2 years ago. And since then, I'm like, damn, this dude just takes all the fucking bumps. Like, he is taking all the bumps, all the hard hits of this group in like every single match that he has, no matter who he is tagging with, no matter who he's going up against. He's taking all these crazy bumps and all these hits. And Johnny and I used to make a joke while we were watching AEW, being like, oh, big hit. Oh, there's Yuta taking another big hit taking the one for the team. So I would love to see more Wheeler Yuta fans. I do think that AEW usually does well with him. But I'd like to see, he's Ring of Honor, I think it's Ring of Honor Pure champion. But I'd love to see more AEW stuff with him. I really like him and Claudio as a tag team, and I think they work together really well. I just love the Blackpool Combat Club group as a whole, if I'm being honest. But I don't think that Wheeler Yuta gets the recognition he deserves. Like, he's a good wrestler, and he takes some crazy bumps, and I don't think he gets any credit for that. Like, Jeff obviously does. Darby obviously does. Mark Briscoe does. I would say even kind of Sammy Guevara. But I don't ever see like any Wheeler Yuta appreciation. So I'd like to see a little more of that, AEW fans out there. And speaking of Sammy Guevara, Sammy and Ty are my next two. I think the problem here is two sides of this. And one might have a little bit of tea. I gotta kind of figure this out. But first and foremost, I think a lot of fans do not like Sammy, and they don't like Ty because she's married to Sammy. And this kind of goes full circle back to like what I talked about at the beginning. I love Sammy Guevara. I love Ty Mello. From my perspective, because I think it was actually Malcolm, if you guys know Muscleman Malcolm, who had asked me a few months ago, he was like, you know, you're a big Sammy Guevara fan. Like, what do you say to people? He's like, because you're very outspoken about like men who do like the wrong thing, or like who have, you know, whatever. And he's like, what do you say? Like, how do you handle that? And so he was basically like, you're a big Sammy Guevara fan, like, but you're also very outspoken about people and like things that they do outside of the ring. Like, how do you handle that when people, you know, ask you how could you like Sammy, or, you know, whatever. And so basically here's my answer. Very similar to what I said at the beginning of the podcast when I was like, just own your shit. I really like Sammy. When I found out, obviously, about the whole thing about the comments that he made to Mercedes, obviously I looked into it. It was like, I think at this point 6 or 7 years ago, maybe. I'm trying to think of time frames. But he owned up to it. He apologized. He, you know, paid his dues. I don't remember exactly what Tony Khan made him do. He was like suspended, and like there was like something else or something like that. And he had a conversation with Mercedes, and she basically forgave him and moved on and is now in the same company with him. That, to me, I'm like, if Mercedes can forgive him for, you know, the obnoxious, dumbass, awful fucking comments, but if she can forgive him for those, that is enough for me, personally. Now, if you are somebody, again, if that's not enough for you, that's okay. That's totally okay. And I don't fault anybody for that. But it's not up to you to then shit talk me because it is enough for me. That kind of thing. So I do think he gets a lot of hate for that. And Ty gets it just kind of because she married him. But I think that they're both very underrated as wrestlers. And Sammy, for one, Sammy grew up loving Jeff Hardy, so he hits all these crazy fucking spots. And I know we talk about them like when they happen, but I don't think he gets credit for being a really good technical wrestler in the ring, and then simultaneously being able to take these really big bumps and jumps off ladders. And Eddie Kingston threw him off a fucking cage onto a table like a year ago at Blood and Guts. Like, I don't think he gets credit for any of those things. So I'd love to see a lot more of that. But then that kind of goes into my other thing where I'm like, I don't know if there's tea I should know about, but it feels like Tony Khan has a problem with him, or there's like an issue, because any time that Sammy fucks up, it feels like he is suspended for months on end. Like, he's still suspended from the Jeff Hardy nose break. And like, all the reports came out and stuff that it was just like a miscommunication, and like Sami didn't realize that like the match was supposed to be cut and he fucked up, and it was a miscommunication between him and the ref, because the ref was like, oh, cut to the finish. So Sami thought that meant hit the finisher, and he wasn't supposed to hit the finisher. He was just supposed to like cover Jeff and be done. So miscommunication, right? Okay, so suspend Sami, that's fine, whatever you gotta do. But like, he's still not back on TV. That was how long ago at this point? Jeff has like healed from that, gotten out of his AEW contract, and debuted at TNA in the time that Sami is still suspended and not on TV. And they did it previously. I'm trying to remember what he did, what the last suspension was for. I'm losing track at this point. But it just like, it seems like the suspensions just go on for like weeks and months and just like never end. And it makes me feel like, and I don't know if it's that Tony or AEW just like they don't like him, or if it's that like they just don't have anything for him. So like the suspension hits and then they just kind of let it keep going, like they keep him off TV because they don't have any stories for him. But then Ty, because of the hate that Ty gets because she's married to Sami, she's very underrated as well. She is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She is an amazing wrestler. This girl's a fucking badass bitch. I fucking love her so much. And she gets no credit for that. Like, no one ever talks about all of the things that she's accomplished. Like, she was just talking about being the only Brazilian to ever be at WrestleMania when she was in WWE for that time. So she just doesn't get the credit that she deserves. And I feel like my last person on this list was Anna Jay, so I can kind of talk about Ty and Anna together. But they're such good wrestlers, and they are down for the bumps. They are down for the crazy shit. Like, they love the, like, blood and guts, no DQ, like, crazy weapons matches. Like, they love that shit. And they almost never use them for that. Like, I don't know what's missing there, and I know that AEW still needs to do some work on their women's division, but I would love to see some more Ty J, or like Anna seems to be kind of teamed up with Saraya, but then they kind of dropped that. I don't know if that's still a thing or what's happening there, but I'd love to see more of that. We need more creative. I think that's a big part of it, but I would love to see them get some of that credit that they deserve. Y'all, thank you so much for watching my I Said What I Said. I'm about to go talk about some more crazy shit from Mark Henry, some Dijak stuff, some NXT things, and then Forbidden Door as a pay-per-view on the Patreon half of my I Said What I Said for this week. So make sure that if you're not part of our Patreon, you go check that out. Anybody tier 2 and up gets access to all of the bonus episodes of my I Said What I Said. So make sure you check that out, and thank you for watching.